Hello.
Hello, Councillor Stewart. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I had a problem getting on tonight.
Hello, Councillor Stewart. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
I don't see anybody yet.
I don't think Jenna has that on yet. So
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go mute. Hi, Mike. Got your message. The chamber looks a little bare there, Mayor Craig.
You talking about people or my haircut? One of the others,
Maybe both.
both and. Yeah, well, there's still a couple that we're expecting to arrive. Still pretty early.
Okay.
All right, so we're at 30 seconds to start. Oh, 17 seconds, and then we'll get started. All right, good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine to order at 5 o'clock on August 9th, 2023 in the council chambers at the Municipal Administration Center. And we'll have roll call. Deputy Mayor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Blackwell.
Present.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Present.
Councillor Hinchberger.
Present.
Councillor Kennedy. Present. Councillor Prenger. Councillor Steinhoff Gray.
Present.
Councillor Stewart.
Present.
Also like to acknowledge our staff members that are here. In the absence of our CAO, we are pleased to have Roxana Bauman, our acting CAO, here with us this evening as well. And there's some brave souls in the audience as well. Councillor Kavanaugh, please.
Thank you very much. I would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are meeting on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewa of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewa of Saugeen First Nation, whose ancestors were the first to inhabit, care for, and live on this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate the contributions that Indigenous peoples have made, both in caring for this land and shaping and strengthening this community. As a public service organization, we are dedicated to learning and acknowledging Indigenous history and culture, and are committed to actions that move us forward towards a journey of truth, healing, and reconciliation.
Are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to the agenda the council would like to propose? Seeing none, if there are any members with disclosure of pecuniary interest, they would declare now or as it arises during the meeting. Deputy Mayor Clark, please.
Thank you. If I could disclose a pecuniary interest in 8.1 of the council agenda, the advertising revenue generation policy bylaw, due to my firm advertising in the municipality.
All right, adoption of minutes from regular and special meetings. Clerk, please.
Moved by Andrea Clark, seconded by Rory Kavanaugh, that the minutes of the council meetings held on July 5th, 2023, July 10th, 2023, and special meeting on July 24th, 2023 be adopted as printed.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Are there no presentations or petitions? Council members, are there any notice of motion that you would like to present for our another meeting? All right, seeing none. 8.1, consideration of bylaws, advertising and revenue generation policy bylaw. Clerk, please.
Moved by Amanda Steinhoff Gray, seconded by Doug Kennedy, that the advertising and revenue generation policy bylaw be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-117.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Taxation amendment bylaw. Once again, this is an administrative update to include some omitted realty tax classes that were missed being listed on the bylaw originally passed 2023-039. So clerk, please, the amended bylaw, please.
Moved by Beth Blackwell, seconded by Bill Stewart, that the 2023 taxation bylaw amendment number 1 be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-130.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. All right, motion to move into committee of the whole. Clerk, please.
Moved by Jennifer Pranger, seconded by Mike Hinchberger, that council, oh, she's not here. So moved by Andrea Clark, seconded by Mike Hinchberger, that council move into committee of the whole and upon completion, return to council.
All in favor? And that's carried. All right, so we've just moved into committee of the whole. I'd like to call this committee of the whole meeting of the Corporation and Municipality to Kincardine to order at 5:05 on August 9th. Roll call remains the same. Are there any amendments, additions, or deletions the council would like to propose for the committee of the whole agenda? Once again, I remind you, if there's to disclose any pecuniary interest as they arise, or now, if you know, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could disclose pecuniary interest in 7.2A and 7.2D in relation to the advertising.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Adoption of minutes of the committee of the whole meetings. Clerk, please.
Moved by Rory Kavanaugh, seconded by Amanda Steinhoff Gray, that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on July 10th, 2023 be adopted as printed.
You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Right, moving on to delegations. I'd like to welcome Barb Fisher and Dr. Gary Gerben here this evening. Barb, welcome. If you move up to the podium here, please, to make your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be here today. It's taken us a while to get here. We're very, 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 very busy. And the council has been too. So here we are to talk about the Kincardine Beach Pavilion. And we have a long-term story, but all of this was provided in advance. I'm assuming that most people read it, and I will go through it quickly. And if there are any questions after that, I'd be happy to answer them if I can. So starting with the history, I guess I should start by saying we just celebrated we are in the year of our 100th birthday. And we had a celebration to recognize that during the July 1st weekend. And I'll come to that a little bit more after. Oh, I think I've already not done this. Sorry. There we are. As you may know, the building itself was built in 1923. So we are at 100th, as I said. It was built as a dance hall, one of 7 along Lake Huron. They spanned from Sarnia right up and around Georgian Bay and through the geography to Meaford. We are the last remaining one, and I think the prize of this one is the fact that it's the last standing spring-loaded floor dance hall pavilion on this lake. So on the lake shore that we were with the group of 7 to start with. Some would wonder why I'm bringing the attention to that. That's supposed to be. I am not a dancer, so I guarantee you I couldn't attest to this, but anybody who is will attest to the fact that that floor is special, and it attracted many important people over the history of it to have their events there. It's a landmark. It has been for decades, and some who have attended the building itself will recognize there's a picture usually in the office. Guy Lombardo provided music and fun for everybody for a number of years, continuum of Saturday nights for many years, and some long-term attenders, I'll put it that way, not older people, will remember that. The town had leased the building out historically once, and it was like a revolving lease. Sometimes it was continuous, other times it wasn't. By the time we became involved in 2005, it was slated for demolition. We weren't too keen on that. The building still had a lot left in it. There was some concern about termites. I think everybody in town knows that there are some termites in this town that can be really easily controlled. We have not had a lot of any issue with them over the 15 years that we've operated it. We did have an issue this year, and it's thinking is that because they were doing the roadways in the front of the building with heavy machinery, etc., it excited them alive again, and it's been taken care of already. There is a very easy process to manage that, and we've done that. And you only know them if you only know that they're there. As a matter of fact, if you see a little bit of what looks like sawdust, so it's not something that you can run around and monitor and find them. But as soon as you see that and you take action, it's very well managed and controlled. It was slated for demolition, and it was in disrepair. It had been closed for a number of years. I'm talking in 2005 now, and a few people got together to save it. And Dr. Gary Gerben is here tonight, and I'm doing the talking. But Dr. Gary Gerben was a main leader in making that happen. I think I was brought in when they knew that I could find money elsewhere to help out, and so we've stayed on and managed the project to the repair that it's in today, which is quite frankly excellent repair, especially for a building its age. So we did get support. We did fundraising, and we created a corporation. We are a business of our own. And the Friends of the Pavilion is a nonprofit incorporated company, but it runs its own board with its board of directors, and its business is done within itself. We hardly raise our heads ever for help because we work hard to make sure it stays that way and that the building is cared for well. So we continue to oversee the not only the operation, but the governance that's necessary to run a nonprofit organization. So in 2006 and 8, we engaged the required expertise and services to assess the structural needs and what was needed to repair and renovate the building. The total refurb cost was just over $1.3 million. It sounds like a lot of money, and when you have to raise it, it is a lot of money, but it was money well spent. All but 350,000 was raised and able to be in hand and against the project by the time we were ready to open it. However, we needed to open it. So Dr. Gerben and myself actually co-signed a loan with the town for $350,000 and made a commitment to repay it over 10 years. We don't own a square inch of that building, but we know it's there. So because of that, we were able to continue. It was paid off on time, and today it's debt free. It hasn't had any debt since then. As a matter of fact, we have some money put aside to do a major project. Just so you know, during the course of renovation, 18 people were hired. There was a construction manager, there was an administrator, and then the 15, I think at times 16 or something, laborers. Most of them were unskilled laborers at the time. When we finished our project and they moved on, I believe at that time 13 of the 15 were hired into full-time jobs, and they came from a program where support for assistance was helping them out. So I thought, you know, just to mention what it can do, it still maintains jobs, but these are people that continue to maintain it with us now. So COVID was an exercise for everybody, us too. I have to say, I think we somewhat lucked out in the second year of COVID. One of the major contractors for the Bruce Power Refurb program asked us to be able to lease the building. We put 50 newcomers, people that were applying for jobs and looking for a security pass, into the building on a weekly basis for over a year. I won't say it saved us, but it sure did help us in terms of not letting the building not be used. We wanted it used. You need heat in there sometimes, you need cool in there when it's needed, and so on. And somebody has to pay that. And so that helped us out a lot. During that year, 22, we saw 105 rental days, which is pretty good. In 23, it's much up to itself again. I want to explain that when you say a rental day, the wedding happens on one day. We'll use weddings as an example. There's a setup and a day after for cleanup. So you're really talking 1 for 3. So although it sounds like part-time, it's not very part-time. It's quite busy. We also are proud of the fact that it's open to everybody. There are very few things that don't happen in that building that are events or more recently fundraising events. It can be used for meetings and training, ceremonies of life, and nonprofit organizations. And I want to raise a note on that because we've been able over the past while to reduce the cost for those kinds of events. We find out they're very well received. People come together in a ceremony of life reception, for example, to be together. And we've got a nominal set fee for it. And it's working very well. That's one example. And more importantly, since COVID, there's been a higher demand for fundraising events for other community organizations. The hospice, Women's House, Food Bank, others, Big Brothers and Sisters, all come to us. And it's sometimes multiple times in a year. And we are doing all of those events at a reasonably set fee. So I think people are really appreciating that. And I know for sure that we're happy to do it because it's a fundraising for the community. We have talked a little bit. I won't expand on it because it's not talked a lot yet. But we're looking also to have a cause. As a nonprofit, we shouldn't be sitting on any money. We don't sit on money. We're putting money together right now for the floor. But once the floor is done, I think we'd be in good shape to be able to be contributing as well. And you have a number of people that are very sincerely dedicated to the hospital and to healthcare in this community on this board. And we're sort of eyeing that way. When we have something that we don't need to keep for us, that's probably where we'll be heading as well. Not so sure we'll charge ourselves the same fee. They will get that money too. We're also working very hard with the swing band and the dance classes. As you know, the history of it leans back that way. And the attendance for the swing band events hasn't been what anybody would want. We all want more. And we have a gifted instructor now in the community that's willing to come in free of charge and teach classes, including line dance. We're looking at a way of making that happen. The floor will need to be done to make that happen well. But we're talking having it done in January, so we're not too far out, and we're hopeful that will help out. So we operate on a daily basis. We have part-time people that work there as well. They are paid staff. In addition to that, there's a huge economic impact by the municipality by the events. Any wedding brings in guests to town, hotels, motels, restaurants, etc. You have caterers, you have other people that are involved. You have DJs. We have everything that any event, a great event would have. And those people bring their money to town and do spend it, which is kind of nice. Now, at some stage in the game, I will do an economic a model on that because I'm curious to know myself. That's what I do in my job. So I'd like to know.
Ms. Fisher, just a warning there. I just got given this sign.
Is that 1 minute?
1 minute, yeah.
Oh, we're great.
Okay.
All right. Though that's the day-to-day operation. You should know that we've never had any building, health, liquor, or any infraction cited to us on any date. And I will acknowledge that Mayor Craig was at our 100th birthday. So thank you very much for coming. Capital investment, like I said, the floor, I've already touched on that a number of times. Thank you to somebody sitting beside me. We had a good visit yesterday and I now have the answer to the floor. Didn't even know we had this person and gifted to me by somebody on the town staff. So thank you very much and look forward to working with you. And wait till you see the floor. So long-term capital budget, that is the longest term budget item, major budget item that we have need for, and I've spoken to it already. So in closing, we thank you very much for the opportunity to present. If you don't have time for questions tonight and you have any, feel free to call either myself or Dr. Gerben, and we'd be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for coming, Barb and Dr. Gerben. Any questions, comments from council regarding the delegation? Yep, seeing none. Thank you. We do appreciate it, and one of the media personnel here and I can attest to the quality of the dance floor down there when we were there dancing with the stars. So yeah, so anyway, thank you very much, Barb.
All right, thank you.
All right, so within committee of the whole, we've got a number of reports that we will be recommending council to take action on. The first is the Facility Accessibility Design Standards, FADS. Clerk, please.
This is moved by Doug Kennedy, seconded by Beth Blackwell, that committee of the whole recommend to council that the corporation of the municipality Kincardine adopt the City of London's Facility Accessibility Design Standard for municipally owned facilities to help support and achieve the goals of the accessibility and inclusion. And further, that the municipality may opt not to follow the Facility Accessibility Design Standard if it is not technically or economically feasible to do so.
All right, you've heard the motion. Is there any questions? Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you. I just have a question in regards to, like, previously the motion used the FADS as a guide. This one is recognizing it as a municipal standard. When a project is assessed as not technically or economically feasible, who's making that determination? Will that be a recommendation coming forward from staff, or will council have a say on whether we feel it's economically or technically not feasible?
Through you. So it would be coming through staff. So staff would be recommending that, and then it would go to council if it was something that was within council's purview. Yes, it would go to council. that makes sense?
Council, once again, ultimately has all the control about all of these sort of things. And there is not a set of hard, concrete numbers here that say economically or technically feasible. I would expect there would be a solid recommendation from staff. And you know, one of the questions you should always ask in any project like that is, how does it fit within accessibility standards? And you know, it comes down to budget and instinct and gut feeling and a whole bunch of things, Councillor, just like the way too many answers are forced upon us. So Deputy Mayor, you're hard at thought there. Do you have any comments in regards to that, please?
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I think just perhaps piggybacking on Councillor Blackwell's last question. The motion is phrased using the terminology of municipality as opposed to council. So does the ultimate decision lie with staff, or when would it come back to council?
So through you, Mayor. So it would come back to council for at budget time when we're looking at things like that. So definitely there would be a role to play for council in determining that economically feasible and financially feasible through that route.
So keeping in mind that every project that we undertake to update municipal facilities has a budget number attached to it. When our Director of Community Services, Director of Infrastructure, you know, whatever director comes, and it is a publicly accessed facility within our municipality, the question that we have a whole bunch of questions. What does the Police Services Board think about this? What does the physician recruitment, what does accessibility think about this? So the if there is a report from staff or from the accessibility committee that says, we acknowledge that this is not up to the FAD standards, but it is because of reason A, B, and C. And if they can't justify that, then the logical question is, why isn't it? So that would seem to me to be the logical progression through that series of questions. Is that where your our deputy mayor sits on that accessibility committee? So I'm relying on her expertise here. But
thank you, Mayor. I don't know that I have any expertise, but certainly with regards to the FADs itself, I support that wholly, that we adopt that standard. I think my only question, and perhaps my look of being deep in thought, is whether or not it should be the municipality or the council in terms of the motion. That is so effectively whether council should be making the decision as to it not being economically feasible.
I support that. Hello, Mayor.
yep, I see you, Councillor Stewart. Yes.
Thank you. And through you, I support that. I think we should have a friendly change of the amendment here of the motion from municipality to council. We're responsible for this, and I think it's important that council gets to say in the matter. So I like to do a friendly change of that name from municipality to council. Do I get a seconder?
So I look to Doug and Beth, if you agree with that friendly amendment, that that word further, that the council may opt not to follow. Okay, so that is an amendment to that motion, that it is designated the council may opt to choose, so that precludes staff then from making decisions regarding the ultimate outcome of that exemption, right? Okay. Any other questions regarding? Councillor Hinchberger, I'm sorry.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I have a bit of a different perspective. I kind of almost consider it to be a bit of a moot point, and that the municipality, the reference to it would encompass both staff and council. And when I see design standards, that makes me think of capital projects. And there won't be a capital project that would actually come to be in the municipality without it going through the budget process in which council would approve. So I'm not, I personally don't see an issue with the way the motion is written.
Are you expressing, is this one of the motions you said, I see both sides, but I'm willing to live with the amendment?
It was more that I was more advocating that the original motion did not need to be amended.
Councillor Stewart, please. You're still muted, Councillor.
No, I'm not muted. Thank you very much. I think we do need to change it, but I'll leave it up to the council to do a vote. I just have a comment. When it talks about the new design standards for municipal company or owned facilities, are we talking about going back to all our facilities, or just as we move ahead with new or renovated ones? We have an incredible amount of facilities out there that are pump houses and very small buildings that would never actually fit into this. So I'm just trying to understand the motion. Are we looking at like today and moving forward with new and renovated? Or are we going to go back to everything we own? Thank you.
Clerk, please, do you want to comment on that?
Through you, Mayor, it would be for new and renovated facilities.
Thank you very much, Jennifer.
Councillor Stewart, there was also a, in one of the pieces of information about the London standards, there was section 6, which was the exemptions, and amongst that were all those tiny buildings that you just listed with, you know, pump houses and janitorial rooms and a whole number of things. So there was some acknowledgement within the feds about that.
Great minds think alike. Thank you.
All right, any other questions regarding this this motion? Seeing none, we have a mover and seconder. Oh, do we have to vote on the amendment? Oh, it's a friendly amendment, so we don't need to vote on that. So all in favor of supporting the facility accessibility design standards, all in favor? Is anyone opposed? And that's carried. That'll be brought forward to council. Draft procedural bylaw. Clerk, please, for the motion.
Moved by Bill Stewart, seconded by Jennifer Prenger, that committee of the whole recommend that council approve the draft procedural bylaw as presented and report legislative services 2023-19 at the August 14th, 2023 meeting.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion regarding the revised procedural bylaw? Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, I would just really like to thank the clerk's department for this. I think they've worked very, very hard on it. And I think the fact that it's plain language, it's much clearer in the structure. I think it's going to serve us very well going forward.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of bringing that forward for the meeting next week, next Monday to approve, okay? All in favor, and that's approved. All right. So we didn't approve it. We're just recommending to approve it next.
Time for
Sober second thought. Right on. 7.2 other areas of responsibility, the advertising and partnership program, recreation and community programs. Clerk, please.
Moved by Mike Kinchberg, seconded by Andrea Clark. Oh, not by Andrea Clark. By Rory Kavanaugh. That committee of the whole recommend that council approve the advertising and partnership program for the purposes of revenue generating opportunities, and further that a bylaw amendment of sign bylaw number 2015-086 section 9.0 be approved to permit signs in open space for the purposes of erecting signs on existing fences within active and passive parks for the purpose of advertising partnership program on August 14th, 2023, and that the fees and charges bylaw 2023-116 reflect the additional fees reflected in the advertising and partnership program on August 14th, 2023.
So you've heard the motion. Any discussion? All in favor? And that is carried. B, concession services lease agreement, recreation and community programs. Clerk, please.
Moved by Amanda Steinhoff Gray, seconded by Doug Kennedy, that committee of the whole recommend that council pass a bylaw to authorize a 1-year lease agreement with the option to renew for a further 5 years between the municipality of Kincardine and Saba Umar for the management and operation of concession services at the Davidson Center and the Tiverton Sports Center.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Not Park in-ground irrigation system contract. Clerk, please.
Moved by Beth Blackwell, seconded by Bill Stewart, that committee of the whole recommend that council award the in-ground irrigation for Connaught Park to Rain Tree Irrigation and Outdoor Systems in the amount of $131,500 plus HST, and further that the cost overage of $11,500 plus HST be funded from the Life Cycle Reserve Fund using the cost savings realized from the Art Gallery Roof Replacement Project 9572.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Oh, hold on. Oh, there we go. Sorry, the screen readjusted and I got confused there for a minute. The only question I have is through you, Mayor. Is the expectation that we're going to install this project in this year? Because given where we are in the ball season, it has the feel of like buying a new car and then sitting it on the lot and letting it depreciate before you actually drive it.
Director, would you like to speak to, Trevor, manager?
Yes, through the chair. The intention would not to be install it during the baseball season, but to install it in the late fall or early spring, provided the contractors available at the time.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you very much. And through you, Mayor, I'm always concerned when we go out for bids, Trevor, and we don't actually end up with any bids. You know, part of, I think, the responsibility of the staff is to make sure we have contractors out there willing to bid on projects, because, you know, what's happened now is we're over budget by almost about 10%. And we basically had no bids, so you had to do basically a one-off. Nothing in the report, or I didn't see it, and maybe I missed it. Why weren't the other ones? Why didn't they bid? Did anyone go out and find out why they weren't bidding? Thank you.
Yes, through the chair. Staff did contact a number of contractors in the area and stretched as far as London and Sarnia, contractors that I've even used in my past, and they were essentially either too busy with other projects and couldn't commit, or the companies were too small and unable to take on such a large project.
Could I do a follow-up, Mayor, please?
Councillor Stewart, yes.
Thank you very much. And through you. So wouldn't it be prudent of us, and I just want to see how council feels, that maybe we should delay this and maybe do the rebidding in next spring, because there might be some opportunity instead of going over budget. Just a thought. I'm not sure how the council feels about maybe delaying this project and going out to rebid in 2024.
Good point, Councillor Stewart. I'm sure the answer will be given as we vote on this issue. So, Councillor Kennedy, please.
Yeah, just through the chair, you know, I've never seen anything go down in price in my years sitting around this table. So that's why I'm kind of in favor of doing it now. I appreciate your request, so thanks.
Councillor Steinhoff Gray.
Through you, Chair, I just had one quick question that would help me understand whether it's something we should delay or not delay. Is Connaught Park part of the master parks plan? Because I'm curious, especially if potentially the new school gets announced where it's going to be, if the ball diamonds would ever move. So I'm just curious what our long range plan is in case that changes what infrastructure we want to put in. Because I actually surprisingly just the other day at work had someone talking to me about the drainage issues at the baseball diamond, and maybe there's more comprehensive approach we have to take. If we're going to put in sprinklers, are we going to also address the drainage issues and such? So I'm just curious if that's part of that master plan. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and to you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of answers in there. Absolutely, the ball diamonds will be part of the overall Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Keeping in mind, when you build new ball diamonds, it takes several years. And if you will recall, during budget deliberations for this year, I did express our concern, a departmental concern over the conditions of the existing sprinkler system. We do have tripping hazards in our outfields right now. And yeah, I agree with you that there is a concern with irrigation right now and with pooling of water. We recognize that there are several concerns with Connaught Park that through a fiscally responsible approach, we've broken it down into steps. The irrigation was #1 priority. Lights are #2 priority, which are showing in the 5-year capital forecast. And we recognize too, as I said, we've got issues with pooling in the outfield. So there are a number of factors that are a concern to us at the Diamond, but we've identified them through a priority process without coming in with an astronomical amount of price in order to repair all of the features that need to be repaired at that Diamond. The plan you're right, the plan may include that we need to consider a more robust facility in the future, but I would be highly surprised that we're going to be doing that within the next 5 years. And so you'll hear me say we need to continue taking care of our home, and this is one of our homes, and we need to invest in it to ensure that our players are in a safe environment.
Thank you. So just to follow up on that one, so if I'm hearing you correctly, there would be no impact if we put in the irrigation system when we're later trying to deal with the drainage issues. We wouldn't be disrupting any of the work that was done.
At this point, not that I know of through you, not that I know of. It's certainly not my area of expertise, and I'll be honest with you, that's why we bring in the consultants to provide that area of expertise for us. But as we said during budget time, we recognize the fact that it's taking staff up to 2 hours to stand and manually water those diamonds now, when we have washrooms that aren't being cleaned or garbage that isn't being picked up. And so what I'm referring to is their time could be well used elsewhere. So again, from a fiscally responsible approach, this was our #1 priority in order to continue to maintain those diamonds.
All right, so we've heard the recommendation. The motion is to award the in-ground irrigation contract for $131,500 plus HST. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? And that was carried. Number D, Kincardine Bulldogs Agreement Parks Facilities. Clerk, please.
Moved by Jennifer Prenger, seconded by Mike Hinchberger, that committee of the whole recommend that council approve the Kincardine Bulldogs agreement for a 5-year term.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Bright Beginnings Childcare Lease Agreement. Clerk, please.
Moved by Andrea Clark, seconded by Rory Kavanagh, that committee of the whole recommend that council enter into a 5-year lease agreement with Bright Beginnings Childcare for rental space at the Tiverton Sports Complex.
Heard the motion. Is there any discussion? Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. I was talking to the owner of this program and everything, and what she has to do every summer, she has to bring her own air conditioning units in because the place is fairly hot. We currently do not have air conditioning in the sports arena in Tiverton, so the summer program would be canceled unless the owner actually brings in her own air conditioning at her own expense. Now, I know that we raised the rates. I know that it's been in the capital budget, but it's never been approved. But I'm thinking that this agreement, if she has to bring in her own air conditioning during the summer and we have not done a capital project, we should be paying for that air conditioning as part of the lease agreement. And I like to put a friendly amendment to make that sure in the agreement that without air conditioning, if we have to bring it in or she brings it in, we will cover the cost. Thank you.
Thank you for that motion, Councillor Stewart, but it's not friendly because it can't be qualified as friendly because it kind of contradicts what the rental agreement was that was proposed. So if you would like to make an amendment, propose an amendment to it, you may, but it would need to be seconded and then addressed by council prior to addressing the main motion. Councillor Stewart?
That would be fine. Yes, I would like to add an amendment to this, an official amendment, that the municipality would pay for the air conditioning units required during the summer at the sports complex.
Is there a seconder for that proposed amendment? I'm sorry. Seconded by Councillor Kavanagh. So we're discussing the proposed amendment to the motion. Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, in the proposed agreement, it does say 3.6, the landlord shall at its sole expense supply adequate heating and air conditioning to the premises. So if we aren't doing the amendment, then I would expect that this agreement is saying that we would already, if we were to pass the amendment, or sorry, if we were to pass this agreement.
I'm sorry, can you explain that just one more time?
So 3.6 in the agreement says the landlord shall at its sole expense supply adequate heat and air conditioning to the premise. So we're already bound by what the amendment is requesting if we were to pass this agreement, in my understanding.
Director, would you like to speak to that to just confirm where we're at?
Yes, certainly. And through you, you will recall that through budget deliberations, council did approve for HVAC system at the Tiverton Sports Center. And we changed the scope from the previous year because through our first round of RFPs, it was considerably over budget. My understanding is that there is being ones installed this fall. And I've already spoken with the tenant who is aware of that as well. But I'll make comment. We ensured that it was in this agreement. It's not something that we would typically provide for other facilities that are not air conditioned that we have tenants in. So I'll use Armo as an example. We have summer bookings in Armo on occasion, and we don't provide air conditioning for them. Just so happens we are providing it in this facility moving forward, which will increase the opportunities within that facility.
So in effect, the amendment that is proposed is already included in the agreement anyway. So we can either vote to agree that it's already in the agreement, or the mover and seconder can say we will withdraw that amendment because it's already included in the motion. Councillor Stewart, do you have a preferred direction, please?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because we talk about putting an air conditioning unit in. If that doesn't happen, then you need to put portable ones in. I just want to make sure we're covered either way by the municipality, and then I pull my motion. Thank you.
So the agreement says that the landlord will provide heating and air conditioning.
Perfect.
Okay. Would you propose
I
to
will
withdraw
pull the
your
motion
amendment?
then. I will withdraw the amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Kavanagh? Okay. Are there any other questions regarding the original motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. All right, County Council update. The County Council meeting earlier this month was very much for information updates on the county staff completing work that had been approved in the budget earlier on. I suppose I circulated to council the passing of our CAO's father recently, and we extend our sympathies to Derek Thompson and his family in that regard. So, all right, consent agenda. We have the consent agenda in front of you, and I'm wondering if council has any items that they would choose to have council or staff address this evening or at a future meeting. Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, I'm interested in pulling 8.5 I, M, and N, which all speak to support for the province to coordinate and regulate short-term rentals. I'd like to bring that forward. I'll speak potentially with the clerk, if that's okay, about possibly drafting a motion in support as well to bring forward for council's consideration.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Clark.
Mayor, through you, if we can pull 8.1.
Yes.
8.1A, sorry.
8.1A. Mr. McPherson has requested that his resignation be withdrawn. Okay. He has asked that this letter of resignation be withdrawn from the consent agenda. All right. Anything else? Yes, Councillor Prenger, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'd like to discuss 8.5H. I'd also like to pull 8.5 Kilo Alpha, Kilo and Kilo Lima. They're the right to repair Perry Sound.
I have no idea what you just said. If you could just give us a title there, or
Okay.
a normal alphabet letter would be excellent.
Well, okay. 8.5K, which is Kilo, subletter A, Alpha, City of Port Colborne, the right to repair movement. There's two more that I would like to pull. So also under K, Town of Perry Sound, call for housing and protection of water resources. And also under K, L, the one below that, Town of Petrolia, increase of licensed childcare spaces.
So would you like to speak to those this evening, or would you like them to be included on a future agenda for a council motion in support?
I would like to speak to 8.5H, which is the letter from Joy Hunt. I'd like to pull, here we go again, 8.5K Alpha, which is the right to repair topic. Get that? I'll pull KK, so the Perry Sound, call for housing, protection, water, but I'd like to talk about KL, the Petrolia, increase of license, childcare spaces.
So the those other two, you would ask that in cooperation with yourself, staff would draft a motion of support in regards to those items, accepting the Bruce Ave repair. Is that the intent?
I just wanted to have a discussion about the Bruce Ave. Okay, I'd like to draft motions to support for the right to repair and the Perry Sound call for housing, protection of water and resources. And I'd like to discuss and provide a motion for the Petrolia one tonight.
So what would you, how would you like to inform us regarding the Bruce Ave letter from Ms. Hunt?
Thank you, through you, Chair. I guess I have very similar concerns as to Ms. Hunt. I use that road on a daily basis, and I'm not sure the status of it. I haven't seen in my emails any updates on what's going to happen when, a plan for that road. So I'd like to get some comments if other counselors want to comment on that tonight, and then also request some kind of update from staff on what the plan for that is. And maybe I'm just missing something. If someone could explain it, that's great.
So if I may interject, I know that Councillor Hinchberger had some conversations with Mr. Voisin. Could you relay some of that information, Councillor Hinchberger, please?
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor. So I also drive Bruce Avenue between 21 and Park Street fairly regularly, including today. So most recently today, that note that operations staff had been out and have filled a number of, we'll call them potholes for now, that had formed in the gravel off of the last rains. So I also asked some questions about our current maintenance program for that road and what our future plans are for the road. The maintenance plans for the road are to inspect it like 3 times a week and go out there and repair any damage or spot repair it after any heavy rainfall. The long term is in the 2023 budget, in the 5-year capital forecast, there's a $3+ million project to upgrade Bruce Avenue out to Highway 21 to an urban cross section that should take care of this like once and for all. I think it's unfortunate right now that we're in this interim where the road degraded faster than we expected it to. And the problem that exists right now, if we were to go out and essentially kind of do something to the base and or repair the road and repave it, we're probably going to be out in excess of a couple $100,000 or more, only to come along when the 2024 project occurs and have to tear it all up again to do it. So I did confirm with Director Weiser that the $3 million project is a top priority for 2024. I also told a few members of the public, I expect very much that when the 2024 budget deliberations occur for council, there's few, if any of us, that will be willing to see 2024 go by without some sort of permanent solution to this issue.
Yes, your childcare issue. Plus a letter of support. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm just pulling up my notes, sorry. So basically, we, like a lot of things these days, there is a lack of facilities and infrastructure. So that doesn't exclude childcare with our expanding population and hopefully more people moving here. It also affects us. So I'd like to draft a letter of support of this motion that was put out by the town of Petrolia. And basically, the town of Petrolia recommends that the Minister of Education, in time for the 2023 school year, amendment to the current regulations. Well, they want an amendment to the current regulations to be made to allow licensed home-based childcare operators the ability to provide 2 extra before and after school care spaces in addition to their permitted 6 full-time childcare spaces. So that will hopefully create extra space because I know the before and after school programs at the schools are always full. There's waiting lists. Also in an effort to attract and retain qualified early childhood educators, they want them to review the current wage bracket for early childhood educators and implement an increase to wages to align with the services they provide. And that the province also consider providing more capital-based funding for sources for the construction of new center-based facilities. And yes, so then I would like to suggest, I don't know if you want me to suggest that wording or. Okay, sure, I can do that. Yep. Okay, so I will send the motion to our clerk and we'll hopefully talk about it or vote on that at the next meeting. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Steinhoff Gray, please.
Mine may have already been noted. There was quite a number of items pulled from the consent. But the one I just wanted to talk about in general was I noted India, Town of Fort Erie, controls on Airbnb, as well as N, November, Town of Swa, Narrows, Nestor Falls, short-term rental controls. And when we were at the OSUM, and I'm looking at Beth, a lot of municipalities are looking how we handle those short-term rentals. So I'd actually like to bring this back and maybe consider forming a committee to look at whether or not a policy should be applied here. So that would be my intent with those two items, because I think it's something we're going to have to deal with at some point, and forming a committee to figure out how to do that, I think would be great.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stewart.
Thank you very much. And through you, Mayor, I just have sort of a couple of comments. I don't want to pull anything. 8.3 statistic and information reports. Building services, June. We're down a little bit even compared to last year, 22. One of the things that was very interesting in the report, I call them the secondary suites, but they really moved up this year. 22, we had about $10,000 worth of permits. This year, we're having 775,000. So you're starting to see that secondary residential unit suite start to take off in our town. The other one I wanted to comment on is 8.3 statistics and information reports B, the 2023 6-month financial. And I believe Roxana is in the room. I just wanted to thank Shelby. This is an interesting read. It's always hard to sort of pinpoint where we're at. But right now we seem to be about $4.2 million under budget, but I know that's going to change. But thank you very much. That's a hard report to do, but it's worth a read. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, clerk, we have one more motion.
This is moved by Doug Kennedy, seconded by Beth Blackwell, that this committee of the whole adjourn at 5:58 p.m.
All in favor? And that's carried. So we are back in council once again. We are at 10.1, matters arising from committee of the whole. Clerk, please.
Moved by Bill Stewart, seconded by Jennifer Pranger, that council approve the recommendations contained in the consent agenda dated August 9th, 2023, and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions, except for the items that were pulled.
All in favor? And that's carried. Now addressing the recommendations coming out of committee of the whole this evening. Facility accessibility design standard, FADS. Clerk, please.
Moved by Mike Hinchberger, seconded by Andrea Clark, that the Corporation of Municipality of Kincardine adopt the City of London's facility accessibility design standard for municipally owned facilities to help support and achieve the goals of accessibility and inclusion. And further, that the council may opt not to follow the facility accessibility design standard if it is not technically and economically feasible to do so.
All in favor? And that's carried. Concession services agreement bylaw.
Moved by Roy Kavanagh, seconded by Amanda Steinhoff Gray, that the concession services agreement 2023 bylaw be deemed to read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-131.
All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. 10.4 Cannot Park in-ground irrigation system contract.
Moved by Beth Blackwell, seconded by Bill Stewart, that the Cannot Park in-ground irrigation system contract be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-132. Further, that the cost overage of $11,500 plus HST be funded from the Life Cycle Reserve Fund using the cost savings realized from the Arts Gallery Roof Replacement Project 9572.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. 10.5 Kincardine Bulldogs facility use agreement bylaw.
Moved by Jennifer Pranger, seconded by Mike Kinchberger, that the Kincardine Bulldogs facility use agreement 2023 bylaw be deemed to read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-133.
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Can I just declare pecuniary interest in this?
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. 10.6 Bright Beginnings Agreement Bylaw.
Moved by Andrea Clark, seconded by Rory Kavanaugh, that the Bright Beginnings Agreement 2023 bylaw be deemed to be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-134.
So you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Member of Council, general announcements. Councillor Hinchberger.
I have nothing to add tonight, Your Honor.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you very much. And through you, just want to announce that the Tiverton Lions will be hosting a Special Olympic bocce ball tournament this Saturday over at the sports field in the Tiverton. And we have 32 participants, so it should be a great day. If you'd like to come out and join us, it starts at 9 o'clock and it'll probably go until about 3, but thank you.
Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you. Through you. This Saturday is a very busy day in Grey Bruce. So there is the Saugeen First Nations powwow happening on Saturday. There's the Bruce County Hazardous Waste Day, and it's also free access to the Bruce County Museum for Kincardine residents. And it's also International Youth Day on Saturday. So just like to share that.
Councillor Prenger.
Thank you. I have no announcements today.
Councillor Kennedy.
Through the chair, well, the Kincardine Lions, the Ballas are playing at the Legion on Monday night. Still a few tickets available, but they're getting into, I think we're close to selling 300. So if you want one, you better get it quick. This Saturday at the park, I need Lori's help, 2 to 6. It's our multicultural festival, correct? It's called the, I'm gonna be there. I just name.
Through you, Mayor, it's the Hindu Cultural Open House that's
Okay.
happening this weekend on Saturday.
Yeah, from 2 to 6 Victoria Park, that's something that Chandra organized, and I wanted to be sure to give him a shout out for that. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Councillor Stanoff Gray.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just want to bring up, see how we're talking about the Ballas. We also have the Kincardine Summer Music Festival in its second session this week that will conclude another successful festival. And I just wanted to thank the mayor and Councillor Pranger for coming out to the fundraiser they had on Friday and celebrating John Schnarr's contributions to setting up and establishing that festival. So appreciation. Thank you.
And I'd like to comment on what a good dancer Councillor Stanoff Gray is too. She is graceful. Councillor Kavanaugh, please.
Thank you very much. And through the chair, I first want to acknowledge and thank all the amazing volunteers that came out and made our cruise day at the airport such a success this past Saturday. There was over 20 volunteers out supporting, and there were over 300 cars there. And so it was a great time. I had my whole family out. The Hindu Cultural Festival has already been mentioned. And then coming up on August 26th, I'll mention it again next week, we have the Gathering of the Bands, as well as our Marine Heritage Day. So put the 26th on your calendar for fun activities in Kincardine.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. The municipality will be hosting this year for the first time an Afro-Caribbean Youth Cultural Award Day. That's coming up in the autumn, but nominations have just gone live this week. So youth who identify as Afro-Caribbean can be nominated by anyone. Thank you.
So I've never lived in any other small town in Ontario, but I tell you, if you want to do stuff in the summer, have a busy life, like just move to Kincardine. Holy schmolies. That's just one weekend. On a more sober note, I had spoken of the passing of Derek Thompson's dad. He's the Bruce County CAO. We also would like to acknowledge Vern Root, who was an elder and a chief at the Nawash Saugeen First Nations. Vern was an accomplished leader and teacher, and his passing leaves a void in their community that they will be celebrating over the next few days. So just an appreciation for who Vern was and his leadership abilities. Any comments from the CAO?
Yes, actually, I did have an announcement through you, Chair. So this is a very exciting time in preparation for the 2024 budget process. We have our annual budget survey that is launching tomorrow. And it'll be open for 4 weeks. It'll be posted on our website and on social media. So if you can share that information with everyone you know, the more input we get, the better. Thank you.
Wow, you can dance, you can sing, you can fill out a budget survey, all in the same community. It's exciting. Clerk, please, confirmatory bylaw.
Moved by Amanda Steinhoff Gray, seconded by Doug Kennedy, that the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of Municipality of Kincardine of August 9th, 2023 be deemed to read a first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-135.
All in favor? Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Beth Blackwell, seconded by Bill Stewart, that this council adjourn at 6:06 PM.
All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, council. Good work. Good thoughts.